Welcome to Recap, where we laugh in the face of pain. Up next, the 2020 Red Sox, because already our bullpen sucks, our entire pitching staff. But moving on from that, in order for me to not pop a blood vessel, today we're laughing in the face of someone else's pain, the Arizona Coyotes, because I seriously now think they are going to move, and this is the red flag. For me, a red flag for a team wanting to move is either when a star player backs out and says, no, my thumb cracked. I don't know if you heard that. Or B, when a GM or key staff member leaves for no reason. And I wouldn't be surprised if John Chayka came out like today and said, well, I left because I wasn't happy with the owner and, I wasn't happy with the way things were going. If one of the youngest and smartest GMs in the league, in my opinion, I mean, there are other GMs who are smart, but he's, for me, one of the smartest. And I can explain why. Outside of the GM of the Oilers, I'm blanking on his name, who is Ken Holland, that's it. Outside of Ken Holland, John Chayka is, for me, one of the smartest GMs. I know he passed up on some really key rookies, but the fact that he joined a couple years ago and he's already turned Arizona into somewhat of a contender is insane. The last time Arizona GM did that, he's long been fired because he couldn't handle a rebuild. But here's a question. Again, what happens when one of the... he was a true stats guy, and I feel like that's what everyone wants in a team. A true stats guy. If I hired a stats guy to be the GM of a hockey team, I would just leave him because he probably knows a lot more than I do. Especially more than what Alex Meruello or whatever that dude's name is, because I don't even bother remembering it. Those owners for that team get passed around like dips, like a bowl of chips at a party. Like, that team just gets tossed over. Like, even the league has owned that team at one point. They were on the verge of being moved, and I seriously think this is going to be the end. And you want to know why? It's like seeing the face of death in someone. Like, not to be very grim, but it's kind of like seeing the face of death. Because you just kind of think, oh God, this could be it, and you know it's it. Because here's the thing: when ownership fires, when ownership fires a GM, you may be thinking, "Oh, okay." Like when a GM's fired, you kind of know that, "Oh, okay, he wasn't doing a good job," or ownership didn't think he was doing a job. But this guy flat out quit. Chayka just flat out just left. He was just like, "Nope, I'm good. Yep, bye." Like, how do you manage that? It must be ownership. It must be 100% ownership. And here's the thing: I like the ownership of the Arizona Coyotes is interesting because it's like the first true, it's like it's the first whatever. It's the first Latino president of a hockey team. It's the first Latino owner. But here's a question: are they doing a good enough job? It's my question. I don't care if you're the first whatever of an ownership group. Are you doing a good job? And if you aren't doing a good job, then that's a problem. And I'm saying that flat out because people are going to suggest that, can't people from this country, people from this race own a hockey club? They can, if they're good. Here's the thing: a good owner means you pump enough money into the team for them to sustain themselves, and you're kind of involved in the team, but not really involved in the hockey side of it. Like, you're involved in everything else. You make sure the arena's good, you make sure the fans like it, you make sure the jerseys are up to spec, whatever. A good owner, in my opinion, would be... what's a good owner of a team? Like MLSE. I'm going to put MLSE out front. It's because they've built 3 championship-winning teams in the past 10 years. And they've somehow ownership of that team has managed to hire 3 competent enough GMs to win championships. That's how good MLSE is. And here's my thing. They somehow managed to build a championship for the Marlies, for the Reds, and TFC, and for the third one, they helped the Raptors win. And the Raptors are by far their best example of ownership. They're well-funded. They're, well-run by Masai Ujiri, and they have a lot of money pumped into them. Not because they're good. Again, maybe because they're good, but even before they had a lot of money pumped into them. But the Raptors were a mess for years because they couldn't do anything. They couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't somehow manage to get a rebuild together. But now, again, they're well funded, and so is every other team MLSE owns. Look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. that team is probably got to be the most funded thing in Toronto. Like, probably besides the construction that goes on the Gardner every weekend. Like, and here, a good example of bad ownership of a hockey team would probably be Atlanta Spirit Group. For those who don't know who Atlanta Spirit Group is, they own the Atlanta Thrashers, for, like, I think ever since they bought them in, like, 2003. And that was when people kind of thought, oh, why does Time Warner want out so early? Because Time Warner owned them, and they own the Atlanta Hawks. And when both those teams went up for sale and were sold to Atlanta Spirit Group, everyone kind of went, uh-oh, what does that mean? Why are the Atlanta Thrashers being bought so early in their lives? I get they are terrible, but every expansion franchise was up until Vegas. And then an expansion team hadn't even won until 74. That's a whole almost 10 years after, but my minus of years. It's like 8 probably. I don't know. I'm not doing math. It's midnight. But, like, again, for the Arizona Coyotes, how good is their ownership doing? And I'm asking this as a very serious question. Are they doing ownership things? I've heard from rumors that apparently they were taking too much control, and John Chayka didn't feel like he was doing enough, and he all of a sudden flat out quit. Like, he was just like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this. Or maybe he saw, it's either that because he didn't have a lot of control over the team, or he saw something, and he saw something, had to talk with the ownership didn't care, and he backed out. There's a few options of what happened. And this is a very real question, as we should be seriously taking a look at the Arizona Coyotes and wondering how good are they actually doing. Because maybe it was John Chayka doing all the work, and they haven't been doing, and Arizona's ownership hasn't been doing anything besides making themselves look good in the press. Because making yourselves look good in the press and making yourselves look good as a hockey team are two totally different things. Like, Arizona is still having record low attendance number. Like, they're still having low attendance. They're still having all this because they're in Glendale. But if I'm going to go on my phone here real quick, live here. And let me just Google the NHL attendance numbers and let's see how far they rank. Because I guarantee they're low. Because here's the thing. Arizona was hot this year. Arizona was very good this year. And they've been having okay attendance. And I actually got into a little bit of a discussion with someone about this because they were saying that the Arizona Coyotes were the Florida Panthers were averaging 82% attendance. No, they were averaging like 17 to 18. They were saying they had like 82% or something stupid along those lines. And yeah, if you look, Florida had 14,000 people in 2019-2020. And Arizona, let's see how many Arizona had. Arizona had only 14,000 people. 14,000 people at home. That's probably in a 19 to 20,000 seat building in Glendale. Actually, let's see, what's the capacity of Gila River Arena? Let's Google that right now, guys. Let's just see, because this is all just recorded over one mic and me just talking gibberish to myself. 18,000. That means that 4,000 seats are not being sold. That's good. Actually, who am I kidding? That's terrible. You're missing out on a lot of seats, and 14,000 you notice. 14,000. I think Arizona's like 19,000, or even 19 to 20,000. Same with the Hurricanes. Hurricanes were averaging like 12,000. People thought that was good. I'm like, no, that's like a 19,000 seat building. You really start to notice the seats being empty in that arena, and you guarantee that team is losing money. And I think it's Alex Mariuello, I'm not sure, but if Alex Mariuello is doing a good job at owner, if he's doing a good job as an owner, those seats would be 100% filled. I'm saying that right now because here's the thing: Phoenix is a weird market for things in general. Actually, there's not much to do in Glendale, not even Arizona in general. I don't even think. Like what? There's the Diamondbacks who haven't really been relevant since like almost probably a decade. You have the Phoenix Suns who haven't been relevant in 2 decades, or not even probably since Steve Nash left. And you have the Coyotes who are just flat out terrible. And you have the Cardinals who are probably going to be good soon, but not right now. And Arizona needs entertainment right now because they have like nothing, and no one has entertainment in Arizona. And they could capitalize on that. Say, hey, need something to do need something to do? Come over to watch a Coyotes game. Because, need something to do on a weekend, like on a Friday night, come do an Arizona Coyotes game. But that's what they're not doing. And I feel like this is I feel like now Arizona's ownership is just getting worse at this point. Because I feel like now they're just trying to, I've mentioned this before, I feel like they're just trying to look good in the press. And that's kind of my point of, like, looking good in the press's terms and looking good in terms of being an actual hockey team are two totally different things. Looking good in the press is, oh, we donated this much money to help people fight COVID-19, or, oh, we donated this much money. When in truth, you could be spending it on your team, right? Look at the Boston Red Sox. Boston Red Sox just put out, I think it was on a broadcast, they announced that they had, a huge fund or whatever, and they were hosting 50-50 raffles, and they were doing all this, and I was sitting here saying, fund it into the team. Everyone knows John Henry is a huge cheapskate for the Boston Red Sox, and it showed. But no one really realizes that immediately after a team wins a championship, they immediately have to strip it all down to become mediocre. Look at the Royals. Royals are still dead last in their division. They won it 5 years ago. They're not going to get any better for a while. And I don't think people know that. That's how baseball championships work. The Red Sox are probably going to be mediocre for another 3-4 years before they become good again. Probably. 1 or 2, probably. And as a Sox fan, it's going to be rough to sit through, but I don't care. I'm a fan of the Habs. I've been watching mediocre teams for as long as I can remember. But in general, going back on the topic of mediocre teams and Alex Meruelo, for me, it now becomes a question of where do you go from here, and what does the league do? Does the league step up and say to Arizona, hey, you need to figure that out? We haven't had a GM flat out quit in years. I don't think I've ever seen a GM flat out quit for years with no issue. And also, for the Arizona press to say that the Coyotes have the best fans in the league is laughable. I'm saying that now. They could just say he walked out one of the best hockey teams in the bubble and stated it at that. But instead, he could have walked out an entire franchise and left it at that. He walked out in a fan base on a franchise. How dare he? Not some of the best fans in hockey, because that made them look even more laughable. This team is getting moved. And I'm saying this now. I'm sorry if you're an Arizona fan, but this team is getting moved. I do not care. This team is getting moved. And watch, don't be surprised when the ownership group gets bumped out in a vote of no confidence somehow. Watch. I'm calling it. This team is going to, watch. The NHL is going to hold a surprise vote of no confidence, not invite the Arizona Coyotes, and then soon enough, Arizona's ownership is going to force sell the team, and they're going to get moved to Houston. It's going to be one big messy debacle. I don't care if the league wants to keep that team in Arizona. Here's my thing. I don't care if you're I don't care if you're the first female-led ownership group to run a hockey team or whatever. If you're not doing a good job, you're not doing a good job. If you're not running this hockey team up to par with every other hockey team, you are going to get forced out. I don't care what sort of societal norms you're breaking, but if you're not doing a good job, you need out. You're gonna get forced out. And I don't care. Because here's the thing. The NHL's a business. It's not a PR platform. It's not NHL 20. Running a team is not like running a franchise in NHL 20. I don't care that you can set the prices for everything. You need to make a profit, and the NHL needs to make a profit. It's not for your pleasure. It's for guys to make money doing what they love. It's for the NHL to make money doing what they think is right. The NHL's a business, and I don't think people realize that a lot, that the league is a business, and if these teams are profitable, then whatever. Or if the league can bail out a lot of teams and still make them somewhat profitable, then they're going to do that. But if they realize that a franchise is being mismanaged as badly as they are, then they're going to get this team sold, and they're going to move. That's exactly why Atlanta left. Atlanta didn't leave because, Atlanta just doesn't work as a hockey market. No, that's not true. Look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay works well as a hockey market, and they have a great ownership group, and so on and so forth. But if you're saying, but the Atlanta Thrashers were mismanaged ever since the day they stepped on the ice. Ever since the Atlanta Spirit Group signed that check and basically signed the papers to sell it, to buy the team, that's when things went downhill. And that's why that's why that ownership group doesn't exist anymore. They dissolved immediately after the Thrashers left. Fun fact. But here's the thing. The Atlanta ownership group was terrible off the gate. Florida's ownership group is terrible. We know that. But the question becomes, are they fit to run a team? Because if, for example, if the Atlanta Spirit Group, here's the thing. The NHL, Gary Bettman doesn't run the league. Here's the thing. He doesn't run the league. He's the head. He's the kind of the head guy at the board of directors meeting. Basically, the board of directors it's basically every single every single owner in the league. So that means guys like that. Let's say John Molson once a month meets with Gary Bettman and the 31 other ownership groups just to kind of sit down and say, okay, how are we doing this month? What's our how are we doing? How much did you guys make this month? And how much can you continue to afford to pay our players? Let's do it. And they meet probably once a month in New York, in Toronto, wherever, to say, okay, how are we doing? Let's talk. I probably have a conference call or something saying, okay, let's do a report. Each team, say your profits. How much you made this month? And probably a lot of teams are sitting there saying, well, we didn't make money this month. Or, well, we made $1 this month. And the NHL is thinking, all right, revenue sharing, we can bail you out. But at some point, they're going to look at the Arizona Coyotes. They're going to say, well, we didn't make squat this month. We have lost a lot of money. And the NHL is going to say, okay, that's it. Vote of no confidence. Let's get them out. And so an ownership group is going to walk in there and buy them. And here's how I think it's going to go. For me, it's going to kind of go down to... For me, what's going to happen is it's going to go down to a few things. One, is the NHL finally going to give out? Is the NHL finally going to say, okay, I don't believe in these two teams. They're not making money. Or, okay, I don't believe in these teams. And no, they're not going to move the Ottawa Senators. Unless Eugene Melnyk gets convicted of a crime, he's not going anywhere. Because here's the thing. The Ottawa Senators are a rivalry. They're a key part of two rivalries. The Ottawa-Montreal rivalry and the Ottawa-Toronto rivalry. And guess what? They're not getting moved anywhere until Eugene Melnyk screws up. If he screws up, probably the closest I've ever seen that team getting sold is when he was outed was when the Senators charity got dropped and basically just got dropped. That's probably the closest I've thought, oh God, could the Senators actually get moved? But they're not. We all know that. And everyone's saying Ottawa's going to be moved. But here's the thing. Melnyk doesn't care. Melnyk's going to continue to push money into that team. And the NHL's going to not draw an eye. Because here's the thing. They don't care how bad an ownership group is. As long as they're making money, they're good. As long as they can bail them out, they're good. As soon as they can't afford to bail out that team, they're gone. They'll be forced to sell. And that's the unfortunate part. That's why were needing the CBA to go through and the contracts with TV networks go through. Because if a lot of teams don't get that money, you're going to see teams start dropping like flies. Winnipeg, for example, is not making money. Arizona's not making money. Florida's not making money. Watch. You're going to see probably 2 to 3, even 4 teams get picked off. Watch. You're going to watch Florida move to Quebec. You're going to watch Arizona move to Houston. You're going to watch Winnipeg move somewhere. Probably Wisconsin, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe Canada's going to fight to keep them in there. I don't know. But probably True North Sports is going to continue to push money into that group, into the team. Probably they're just going to continue funding money because they don't have a big enough building. And honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. Winnipeg's going to make money. Everyone knows that. But Arizona and Florida aren't. Arizona and Florida never have made money. Fun fact, from 1997 until 2019, they lost $153 million. Yep. They've lost more. They've lost probably as much money as like an NFL star's contract. Yep. They've lost that much money. And honestly, my opinion on that is, really? You've lost that much money over 20 years? That's insane. And honestly, I'm waiting for and also, by the way, Arizona fans, you're going to, Florida fans, you're going to go at me and you're going to say, oh, well, at least we're spending up to cap. Ownership has finally decided to change. Ownership hasn't changed. Are you kidding? They still aren't marketing that team. They still aren't doing a good job. They still aren't. The only people they're getting is people from South Florida that say, hey, they're getting people from Georgia and they're getting people from South Florida. They're not getting a big market. People go down to Toronto to watch their teams play. I know people who are fans of Montreal or Atlanta to go to Florida to see at least a hockey game. They don't go to the Atlanta Gladiators game to see an NHL game. They go to Florida. They go to Arizona, they go to a Panthers game. And how many people? Well, I said a comment earlier in the year, around January at some point, when Toronto played Florida earlier this year. I legit looked at the crowd and said, wow, that's a lot of red seats. And Florida, I think, was winning. And my point is that it's such a, also, Florida's not spending up to the cap. Florida is, but they're spending it on one player. They went out and tried to solve their problem only for it to go to doing like an Ilya Brizgalov situation. And for those who don't know what an Ilya Brizgalov situation is, it's they sign a really hot goaltender to a big, massive deal only to realize that, he sucks now. Ilya Brizgalov went through that exact thing. He was really good in Anaheim, signed in I think he signed in Arizona, and then signed in Philadelphia, and then was just terrible in Arizona. Like, he stood in Anaheim. Oh, he was so good. Teams were reaching out to him for contracts, and I think it was Arizona signed him to a huge deal, and he fell apart. And he went to Philadelphia and fell apart, and then he retired. Yep. That's how things work. That's how things work when you get a massive deal. And honestly, my opinion right now is on like all of the ownership crap that's going on is that they either need to figure it out or they're getting moved. 100%. Arizona, probably gone. Florida, gone. Oh, the Florida rivalry is not going to do anything. Trust me. They don't care. They have Tampa. They don't care. They have an out. Florida has an out in 2023. Unless they legally drop that contract, no. They're probably going to get moved in 2023, and Arizona is on a year-to-year basis. Every year, they just flub up a one-year deal, and they're good. They're just like, one-year deal, yeah, fine. One-year deal, yeah, fine. Because it's like, Glendale doesn't know. Glendale could easily just snip that contract and say, nope, we're not letting you play here again. And Phoenix is going to say, well, we're not hockey ready. We're not going to be hockey ready for at least another 3 years. And guess what? Arizona's going to have to either sell or fold. So, we're going to have a big kerfuffle once, we're going to have a big problem once Arizona decides to pack it up. Either they're going to say, well, we can't do anything, or, well, we'll try to sell. And guarantee there's going to be a guy in Houston and a guy in Quebec fighting for it, and they're going to take the biggest offer. Or the NHL is going to bar the Quebec trade and just go, okay, Houston, go, whatever, take them. But here's the thing. Here's what I think the best. Here's what I think is going on and why people are saying Gary Bettman doesn't like Canadian teams. It's not that Gary Bettman doesn't like Canadian teams. It's the owner of the Bruins. Surprising, right? The owner of the Bruins doesn't like Canada. Yep, it's true. He apparently, according to rumors and according to the hockey guy, he has said multiple times in meetings that he doesn't think Quebec City is a good market, which is which is such a crap statement. And he apparently loves Houston. So, can we get out the trash cans? I'm saving that for another video. But honestly, what I'm going to say right now is, well, what are we going to do? We're either going to watch two teams die, or we're going to watch Arizona go into another spiral of depression again. So that's it for this episode. Tune in for me talking about why the Houston Astros are terrible. Or why the 2020 Red Sox are terrible. Kill me. But, to end it off, thank you guys so much for listening or watching or whatever you're doing. And I will see you all in the next one. My microphone was off the entire time, but whatever.